Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Woodman and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will talk more about the meaning of being an inclusive leader. This is an expansion to my previous video where I gave an explanation of how inclusion is related to civic engagement and how it is up to us to practice inclusion in our daily lives. This is so we can ensure all of us feel like we belong in the spaces we are in and feel safe expressing ourselves. Knowing the meaning of inclusion will set the tone for how we will talk about this subject in this video set series. Inclusiveness revolves around your willingness to do better, which is something all leaders should have. In fact, being a leader involves creating a culture of belonging where everyone can thrive in countless ways. As a leader, you need to have a spark to ignite this desire to make positive change. When you have that spark, you start to see all the opportunities to better support others unfold. You want to do more to fulfill your potential as a leader, colleague, community member, parent, or friend, and learn, grow, and contribute to your environment. The hardest part about being an inclusive leader can be that initial work to begin, that desire to make change, to become aware that you are already equipped with the ability to make a positive difference, and to learn how much your efforts are needed. Having that internal desire can create a greater sense of purpose that can enrich your life and other people's lives. But to truly ignite that power, you must look inside yourself to uncover your blind spots, prejudices, and biases, and overcome them. Essentially, there are going to be moments where you need to be uncomfortable by pushing yourself to do more than what you are already doing, as well as pushing others around you to improve. If you are not willing to recognize this challenge, then it will be difficult to start becoming an inclusive leader. In fact, being a leader requires you to make decisions that you are not used to making, but they are good for your whole community. As an inclusive leader, you lead with vigilance, care, and intention by perceiving and then addressing what might be getting in the way for the people you are working with. You are dedicated to the thriving of others, particularly those who have struggled to be heard and valued. You honor and value input, nurture purpose in others, and encourage authenticity for those who fear the repercussions of being authentic. You are passionate about challenging whatever obstacles you and your group faces and solving them together. You constantly seek to learn more about what you do not know when it comes to cultural competency so that you can better resonate across differences and maintain trust. And you do not pursue any of this as a chore, but with enthusiasm and joy. You take a strong stand against bias, even in its most subtle forms. You understand where and when you can step in and use your voice to address bias when it occurs. You think about the systemic reasons for it occurring, and you endeavor to tackle those reasons at the root. You bring more of yourself to the workplace than other leaders, where you believe that through your vulnerability and authenticity, you can create a space in which others can do the same. You do not push others to be blindly authentic, but plan with them to stretch forward, to take calculated risks, while never encouraging someone to push themselves out there before they are ready or put themselves in an embarrassing situation. You always offer to be present alongside others, to lend a voice. You seek as much feedback as you give. You are aware of and know how to utilize your privilege to raise issues, to challenge norms and behaviors, and to prioritize and root out core issues that perpetuate exclusionary practices. All in all, you push yourself as much as you push others to be the best versions of themselves. You do all of this consistently. So now that you know the important characteristics of being an inclusive leader, let's discuss why being an inclusive leader matters. Here's the simple reason why. You want to make sure people you are working with are comfortable putting as much as their talent and energy into working with you, and they do not feel like holding themselves back out of fear you will exclude them. When people are actively hiding their unique talents, insights, struggles, and experiences, they are unable to fully leverage those same things for their success. We lose out on an opportunity for them to express their unique ideas and give them the impression they cannot be creative. As individuals, we need to chip in, contribute, and get involved in creating inclusive environments, not just on paper, but doing the actual work of change, especially within ourselves. Anyone can and should be an inclusive leader, whether you are a president, CEO, executive director, an employee, or a member of an organization. You can incorporate behaviors and actions into your routine that will help drastically change the day-to-day reality for you and the people you work with. Whether you consider yourself an advocate or a regular member of your community just trying to learn what you don't know, this applies to you too. We can't sit back and wait for the arc of history to bend by itself, believing that we are somehow inconsequential or that we can't have an impact or that our voices don't matter. And we can't hope for more opportunities for all kinds of talent to magically appear on their own. We have to do our part, and we still have a long way to go. If we want a more just world, one in which more vulnerable people are spoken for and supported to succeed, and in which the playing field begins to equalize, we need to grasp the urgency of our own role and responsibility to bend that arc. As you can tell, being an inclusive leader requires us to be active in making positive change rather than hoping change will happen on its own. To help us understand how to actively become an inclusive leader, we need to look at the 4 phases of the inclusive leader continuum from Jennifer Brown's book, How to Be an Inclusive Leader, Your Role in Creating Cultures of Belonging Where Everyone Can Thrive. I mentioned these steps in the previous video, but I'll go over it again here. The first phase is unaware. Everyone has to start somewhere. And the first stage of the journey along the continuum is centered around not knowing much about the issues about inclusion or how inequalities are perpetuated. It's easy to live in this stage if you're part of a majority demographic and you grew up without being exposed to many different types of people. Inclusion might not seem like a pressing issue because you haven't really experienced the feeling of inclusion. Many people remain at this stage because they believe they're well-intentioned and that things will just work out. They might believe in their own innate goodness and that their values are obvious to other people, so they don't think they need to say or do anything differently. What they don't realize is that inequalities are so baked into systems and processes that it takes real effort to disrupt the status quo. They also don't realize that the benefits of an inclusive workplace often need to be fought for and are worth fighting for. Those benefits include better team cohesion, higher productivity and retention, and ultimately higher profitability if you're in an organization that makes money. To work towards equality, many individuals must work together, including those who haven't felt excluded in society or the workplace. This stage is about beginning to understand the reality of inequalities in an organization and the role every inclusive leader should play in making a difference. The second phase is aware. At this stage, you begin to understand how much you don't know and realize you have so much left to learn. This stage is for deep reflection and internal dialogue about how your perceived experience does not square with others' world reality. This stage will likely require you to acknowledge your inner discomforts and the experiences that led you to experience them. In the process, you may realize that you've been making decisions based almost solely on your experiences without considering other perspectives. In addition to such overwhelming realizations, this stage may also come with some shame or guilt about missed opportunities. For instance, when you work with a team in an organization, you may come to understand your colleagues' advantages and disadvantages and what has made their lives and career progressions relatively easier or harder. These insights contain clues for how your actions should look like. During this stage, you reflect on whom you sought out for support and where you haven't felt supported, and you explore, perhaps for the first time, what kind of support you can give and who is most in need of it. This stage awakens you to your own limitations and advantages and asks that you activate in order to make change for yourself and your workplace. The third phase is active. The choice to become active is a critical moment for anyone aspiring to be an inclusive leader. This is a moment where you sign up to do more, to put yourself into places of discomfort, and to assume a new level of responsibility as a friend, colleague, and especially as a leader. In this stage, you also need to shed unproductive behaviors, mindsets, and resistance points that have either prevented you from taking action in the past or that continue to distract you and slow you down. During this stage, you are communicating ideas that are new to you and are trying to find your voice, which can feel awkward, but it is important for self-reflection. This stage might come with more risk because you are more visibly taking action. As you start to express your perceptions and try to be more inclusive, things won't always go smoothly. Some people won't agree with your views, and others won't like the way you communicate those views, even if your heart is in the right place. As with anything, humility and resilience are the key. If you feel the sting of criticism, don't decide it's easier to watch from the sidelines. Remember, nothing worth fighting for is easy. The fourth phase is advocate. This is where you can focus on not just who needs support, but also how systems need to evolve to interrupt harmful practices that perpetuate an unequal playing field. In other words, you're committed in word and deed to make your organization and community more inclusive. You may find yourself increasingly ready to make or be more public with your efforts to be bolder, to challenge others more directly, and to question systems that so many people have taken for granted. This seemingly fearless stance becomes your new normal. You learn the language of inclusion and get comfortable with knowing you will make mistakes. Others begin to follow along and gain inspiration from you. You can think of this stage as a natural inclination. When you see something, you say something, and you do something. For example, you speak up when you hear inappropriate language or humor. You wonder why your organization is not being diverse with getting new members and suggest strategies to improve the diversity. You are used to being uncomfortable routinely, and you can confidently use the tools at your disposal to influence others or gain their support. These phases are meant to be done in order from beginning to end, but keep in mind that no one travels along this continuum only once. You will travel back and forth between the stages multiple times, depending on which community, identity, or issue you are currently educating yourself about. We will talk more about each of these phases one by one in the next few videos, but it is important for you to take your time going through them and making sure you truly understand what you are getting yourself into as a leader. Still, knowing these 4 stages will help you gain a better understanding of how you can become an inclusive leader in the spaces you are in. In the next video, we will dive deep into phase 1 of the inclusive leader continuum, unaware. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the post notifications so you will be notified when I post my next video. I appreciate your support. Remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you are the change maker our society needs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you soon.